Hello. Hello, everyone. Corey here, coming in to do a little check in before I have to head out for an appointment. And thought I'd just stop in. So I am just bringing up on my phone. And to talk a little bit about my upcoming events. So I'm just making sure where I am. And then I'm actually on Facebook and I'm actually on YouTube. I'm actually in those places. So I'm just waiting to see if I actually have anyone. Here today, it is the middle of a day, so it's an odd time for a lot of people who are busy working back into their scheduled life. This is my scheduled life. Hello, Liz. How are you? I hope all is going well with you being settled in, Liz. And hello, Beth. Oh, thank you, Beth. my I just had it done. I just had the regrowth done. Michelle is my hairdresser. Um, but my hair not all fell out, but I lost a lot of my hair after all of the medications from my back surgery. Every time my body has to go through something traumatic, like that back surgery was so traumatic. Every time my body goes through something very traumatic, my hair breaks off, it falls out, I lose like massive amounts of hair. And I have thick hair and it grows really fast. So I have unintentional bangs, I have unintentional layers, and I have unintentional shorter hair. so so this is what happens, Beth. This is called acceptance. I accept it, I go with the flow, and I just work with whatever shows up, and then I grow it again. So thank you. Uh you're working on it. I know, Liz. It's such a transition, and it's not so easy as, as just as, oh, we're just going to move, or we're just going to do this, or we're just going to do that. Is that when things are kind of a little bit out of our control, but we have to make a decision, it's very challenging, and it's a grief process, right? So being kind to yourself, showing yourself grace. Remember that, Liz. Keep showing yourself grace. MJ, meant to see this today as it's a great birthday gift for myself. Oh, happy birthday, MJ. Thank you, Beth. Um, so we are on September the 5th. Yesterday I couldn't even remember what day it was. I actually looked before I came in today. If you've seen my reel from yesterday, I literally started the reel and I record those in the moment. I never know when they're coming. I never know what's coming. I just turn on the camera and I record the reels. But I literally did not know what day it was. I didn't know what day of the month it was. Time has been like this warped energy for me. It's been so, everything feels so warped. Everything feels so like it's being kind of, I don't know. It almost feels like what happens when the wheel gets stuck into row. That when the wheel is stagnant and we're like a wheel, like life is like a wheel, right? And when it gets stuck, it is like this, it's like, if you have something that you have to rotate to cook, and it stops rotating and it just stays in the one heat, everything, nothing on one side cooks and everything on the other side burns, right? Well, it's the same. Or you got to keep stirring something. Well, that's kind of what it kind of felt like. That's what it's been feeling like yesterday, and coming up like the past few weeks. It's really felt like there is it's like that. It's like the wheel is stuck and things are just burning. Right? And that's what the energy kind of feels like. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like imagining, because everything, it's like traveling the same path. It's like when we travel the same thoughts in our heads, that we just get stuck. We just get trapped. And that's kind of where that energy is right now. So yeah, so that's what we have happening. Hello, Vera and Lisa. Hello. Hello, Teresa. We just finished discussing my hair. We just finished discussing my hair. And here's the funny thing about my hair. So we're coming through the end of the cycle of the last 16 years of our lives. So 2008, what 2008 would have been like, right? Like what we would have been experiencing 2008, what we would have been transitioning through. And I literally went and looked up 2008 because 2008, there was a lot of transformation in my life. And I literally had this exact same hair in 2008. So I'm back to having the same hair unintentionally because my hair actually fell out. And my hair actually had this is the product of surgery and the trauma on my body. And what happens to my hair when after something like that is when my body goes through something traumatic and lots of medication, it falls out, it breaks off. I get an unintentional haircut, and then we have to kind of work with it in between. So that's what happens. But it led me right back to the same hairstyle I had in 2008. So something about that stage, that time, I think in life. Um, so Beth, you have been feeling the same way, stuck in the mud in the middle of a rainstorm. Yeah, and that's kind of what's even though the world is going around, even though everything is still changing, even though everything is happening, it's almost like it's like we just need a nudge, we just need a push. And that's kind of what's coming up. So we have on with the full moon that's happening, with the lunar eclipse that's happening, it's going to be like a nudge. There's a lot of positive influence in that time. And I just feel like we're just getting the nudge to get the wheel going, to get things moving. So if you're trying to plan things and nothing's really moving, nothing's working out, if you're trying to sell something and nothing's really working, you can't find what you're looking for or whatever it is, it feels like we're going to get that big nudge happening around the after the 18th of September. It feels like it's just like nudge, or it could be the kick in the ass. But it feels as if it's like Archangel Gabriel pushing us from behind, that we're being given this push, given this nudge to finally be able to move forward, to go forward, to get things going in our lives. And so, if like Vera's asking for a card, well, that's your card of the day, Vera. Is literally like things have felt that stagnant. It's like, so I'm referring to like the wheel card in tarot. And when the wheel is stuck, and our lives is meant to be like a wheel where we are meant to be moving. But if we keep traveling down the same path that has the ruts in the road, the bumps in the road, and we've already been down that road, when do we take another path? When do we choose to get off the bumpy road that we keep falling down in the same hole, doing the same thing, repeating the same thing? When do we decide to travel a new road and just take a risk and travel a new path or a new road? Just get on that new path. Or if we're like that rotating chicken on a rotisserie, and the rotisserie stops and all the heat is stuck on one side. So if we're feeling that heat, that pressure, it's like if you lay in the sun for too long and don't move your body, if you're directly in it and you're complaining it's too hot, it's burning, this is not comfortable, I don't like this, nothing is happening on the other side. Well, maybe it's time to flip sides, right? It's got to turn. And so we have that momentum. So it does feel like things have been kind of stuck, or that we have been traveling the same track. And in life, in a collective life, like in the human existence, is that we literally have been living with the same sets of rules and systematic beliefs and those things for so long that it's kind of like it's gotten us stuck in a lot of areas of our lives. And if we be willing to kind of open our eyes, open our hearts, look at things in new perspectives, travel a new path, do something new, change something, uh, then things will get moving again. We get back into a new flow, and things move, and we don't have to keep traveling that same path. I always say, so that's kind of what my hair is like. My hair is an acceptance that I love, 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 love my long hair. I absolutely love having my long hair. But I don't have my long hair. So I could sit here and I can grieve and I can be mad and I can be upset that my hair is all falling out again. or I can work with it and I can have fun with it and I can play with it and I can do different things with it. And just know that I don't have to keep sitting here being mad at the hair that's not there, is that I can embrace that journey. So the same thing with anything in your life. Whatever has you stuck, sometimes you got to be that thing that pushes. But like I said, on the 18th of September and moving forward, we are getting like a gush of this positive influencing energy that brings us into a probably a more refreshing sense of our lives. But that often also comes with the fact of feeling as if, well, that's too fast for me. I'm not ready for that. And what's the problem? Control. It's the need to want to control. And I want to be behind that wheel. But it's just like the song, Jesus Take the Wheel. Same thing. When we give over the wheel and we just go along for the ride and just say, I'm in this life for the ride. I'm just going along for the ride. Wherever my soul takes me, I'm willing to go. Whatever my soul is calling of me, I'm willing to listen. I am now willing. And you got to become a willing participant in your own life and in that journey of change and transition, and knowing that life has to keep going. But like the wheel, we go in cycles. And so this is where a cycle now ends. So we're in the ending of a cycle. We're in a massive ending of a cycle. It's that Pluto and Capricorn. It's that 16-year cycle that we have been in since 2008 that we are never going to see again. So there's things that are changing that is happening in this time, that is going to be things that we're literally saying bye-bye to. We're moving on, we're moving forward, or you have finally mastered something. You have finally figured something out, or you're finally figuring something out. So if you were to look at this energy that we're in today as what have I mastered? What have I mastered? What have I learned? What have I figured out? What do I now know? What do I know to be true? And I wrote this down the other day because this was on something I was listening to. And it was, what kind of authority am I now? Today, what kind of authority am I at this point in my life? What kind of authority? And so if we look at authority, how many people fear authority? How many people fear, say, the doctor, the dentist, police officers, um, people who are business people that are higher up, people that you have to speak to, masculine versus feminine. Here's a good one: that masculine, strong, powerful energy versus feminine energy, and having that fear of authority. And so, what of ourselves do we fear being? What do you fear being of yourself? I am breaking the 16-year cycle and I'm so proud of myself. Yay, Beth. Yay. That's so good to know. Right. And so, sure, I feel this so much right now. Right? Needed to hear this. Yeah. And Archangel Gabriel. Yeah. And so, and that's, so if you look at it and just say, what do I fear? What is it that I fear of myself? If I were to get angry, if I were to speak my truth, if I were to walk into an unknown. So, what kind of authority am I right now? So, am I the controlling authority that's trying to control everything, trying to hold on to everything? Am I trying to be that umbrella parent to my inner self, to the self, still trying to hide, protect, keep something hidden? Am I trying to be that martyr complex? What am I trying to be? Or am I trying to be the hero to everyone? Am I being the fixer? Or am I really truly seeing myself as a powerful leader, a guide to myself, to my own energy? Am I seeing myself in the relationship and being able to walk beside my higher self? Am I willing to be the highest expression of myself? And when we're willing to be the highest expression of ourselves, it means that the lower expression of the self has to really truly be taken as a non-truth, right? It's so there's something of that you say, that higher expression of self, so it has to say bye-bye to a lot of the lower expression of self and just say that's not a truth. It's not a truth. It's not a truth that I'm this. And so what I wrote this morning was, I'm done now. I am fully done writing anything about myself because I'm now sick of that. I'm sick of myself. And I'm so over myself. I'm so over that need that it's like, and I wrote this in a post this morning, which I, without saying those exact words, is that the biggest spellbound trick that we have, that was the fact that we kind of thought we had to, that we had that sense of, I want to be special, I want to matter, I want my uniqueness. But when you fully step into a deeper level of consciousness, and that higher authority of being able to see from the higher self is, well, we're all alike. We have imprints that make us unique. We have reasons why we all work together well, why we gel together, why we're not here to be divided. But we simply are, we're not that damn special. We all matter, but we're all alike. We all have a likeness. We all have the same. We're all ordinary, right? We're all this. And so if you redefine ordinary, because a lot of times we're trying not to live the ordinary life, or we're feeling apologetic for our ordinary life, and that we're seeking and searching something that's a thrill, an excitement, a something. So we're running and we're chasing, and we're never happy, we're never satisfied, because in our most ordinary moments is where the extraordinary reveals itself to you. And so that revealing of extraordinary happens when we literally we start to not to feel like we have to run and escape something, but that we can sit with something. And so the most powerful tool there is sitting and silence. And people go, well, that just don't make sense. Silence. Just be silent. Just be quiet. Just listen. That don't make sense. Got to be something bigger. No, be quiet. Stop talking. Be quiet. Stop listening to your inner enemy and start listening to that higher expression of self. No, Christy, but by Monday, by Monday, I will have, I will know the date for St. John's. And so, yeah. And so that's a little bit of what the message I was channeling this morning that I wrote on Facebook. And if you look at the picture, it's like a bigger her, a bigger picture with a smaller picture over the top, and then a little tiny picture. And we are so small, but yet we're so powerful. And as if you were to see yourself as a pea in a pea pod, right? So if you were to look at the perspective of, so we see ourselves in our space, in our world, we see ourselves as the problem or something we got to fix. We see ourselves as the solution to everything. We look at another, and if you look at a celebrity and you're like, everybody follows them, everybody knows who you are. But if you go to some country where they don't have internet and they don't have TV, or if they're not even interested in that celebrity at all, or in any celeb, they're like, well, who's that? I'm like, well, how could you not know who they are? Because I don't know who they are, because they're simply just people, right? And so it's all perspectives. So if you could see yourself in your house, you're big. If you see yourself outside in your yard, you get smaller. If you see yourself in your city, you're getting smaller. If you look from above, if you get above your city, if you get above your province or your state, if you get above your country, if you get above, now, can you see you? Can you see you? Where are you? Just blend into the crowd because you're simply just another dot, right? We're simply just another dot. We're simply just this. But it doesn't mean we don't matter, or that we don't have authority, or that we don't have a power. We all have power because we're all powerful beings. We're all love. We're all light. We can all do such amazing things and believe in such amazing things. And so what we chase, what we've been taught to chase, is the things that takes us farthest away from ourselves. But it's the same ingredients that has forced us to divide ourselves, to live divided. It's the same ingredients. And so if we take out the key ingredient, if we look at what is really not the truth, and we become our truth in that, we will be a lot less divided. Truth. And so that's all really revealing itself, and I feel like there's like a collapse and end of some of that energy that's just like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm done." It doesn't mean we stop being dressing ourselves up, doing good things for ourselves. It doesn't mean that that's not a deflating, that's actually an empowerment of self. When you realize that all when you just simply know that you are simply enough, that you can attract in all of these things if you stop chasing all that is repelling your life and your truth and the love. So what it is, it's actually like a return to love. You are so welcome, MJ. Lisa, just went out through your newsletter for those who have signed up to receive. Can register on Corey's website if you'd like to be added. Yes. So if you go to my website, you can actually subscribe to the email list and you'll get all the updates. You'll know when anything is coming out. You'll know of all of my upcoming events that I have happening. And for those who don't know, I am going to Newfoundland. I'm going to Newfoundland in October and I'm doing a tour across Newfoundland. And we're I'm going to say it. I believe Lisa might be going with me, God willing. It's the um, just traveling along with me. Ah, well, Delia, I'm glad you stopped in. I'm glad you made it. And hello, Craig in Hawaii. Um, yeah. And so I'm heading out for an appointment, but I just wanted to stop in. I don't know, I just felt like really wanted to stop in before I went for that appointment. Uh, I felt the need to come in and just visit for a few moments before I have to leave. And so here we are. Here I am. And here I am talking about something I didn't even know I was going to talk about because it all started when Beth asked me about my hair. But it did start with the channeling of my message this morning that I shared. Well, it started last night because I created the picture. I created that image to go with the post last night. Um, and I've been really contemplating that sense of I've been asking for the guidance around the sense of feeling as if I'm just here. I'm just here. I don't have any inspiration. And I just kept saying, God, I don't have any inspiration. I'm not even journaling. I'm not even writing. And then it was just like this morning, I'm like, because I'm just so I'm done writing about all of the things that were the stories that had to be cleared, cleansed, cleared, and released and shared because now they're not my stories no more. So, however many books later, I'm done writing about that series of my life is now done. That I know in the writing. But what I did discover was that I started to write a book about a year ago. Well, I created a journal that we have never put out, which probably is a sign of getting a journal out. Um, but in the journal, I started to channel write with the angels. And I started to channel through messages from the angels. And I started to write the book. And it was so difficult to stay in the light that I put the book away. So I've been handwriting this. I've handwritten 3 books now that has to be transferred over to the computer. But this book I've been handwriting, and because it's so hard to let yourself stay in the light with the angels, I think I stepped away. And so I had said to a friend of mine who she's an online friend, and she has been channeling and working with the angels for many years, and she's in the UK. And I literally said to her, I said, I feel like I abandoned the angels for a long time, for months now, since after my surgery. I feel like I walked away from a part of myself. And I'm like, and I know they don't abandon us, and I know we are never abandoned. But there was a part of the raw realness of our human existence that I knew I needed to step into and really be able to complete that part of it. And so, when we look at our real raw human life, is that if the more you keep avoiding, pushing underneath the rug, keep stifling things, keep ignoring things, neglecting things, is those cycles will keep coming back until we finally face them, deal with them, or give them to the guides and the angels and ask for help. And so that repeat is there will always be people on repeat. There will always be people, and it's not a judgment, it's not a bad or a good thing. It just is to just be existing in your human existence and just repeating the same thing. Is when you get sick and tired of saying, but why? But why? But why is things not working out? But why can't I do this? But why can't this work out for me? Why does my life always look like this? Why do I always end up in this? And so asking outside of yourself is you got to come home and ask that inside. It's that not being separated from yourself and say, how am I constantly contributing to this? What is my repeat pattern? What do I continue to believe? What do I continue to repeat? What am I contributing? And so that's where the accountability comes in, and ownership and accountability. And that is speaking to us everywhere at this very time. And that's why it can be very hard to be able to stay in the energy. And so you can build a new life, you can start a new life, you can be living, you can move to a new town, you can move to a new town, you can move to a new house, you can get a new job, you can do whatever, but the same things will keep coming back in, because as long as you're taking your past, as long as you're burying the past or burying the things that you have not yet let end, die, come to an end, they will keep resurfacing, whether it is a habit of being that old self, um, the habit of self-sabotage, whatever that may be. It will find its way back in. It will always find its way back in. It seeps back in because a part of it is really attached to the energy of what does naturally and organically exist in us. We have the good, bad, and the ugly exist in us. So often you find your way back in. And so knowing that cleansing, that clearing, that releasing that we do gives us the opportunity to really return. It's not that there's a new self. It's not the revealing of a new self. It's the return to that which was delivered to this earth, and that which was delivered here, but now awakening to remember the value that you arrived with, the worth that you arrived with, and that you came with that worth, you came with that value, that it wasn't something you had that you needed somebody else to boost in you. You already had it. You already had it. We already had all of that. We already had the magnetism, the bliss, the radiance. It was there. It's the environment. So our environment matters, right? And so the environment is also our thoughts, not just the word, not just your home, not just people around you, but what you believe to be true within yourself. And so yeah, and so these are all the things that are resurfacing, that are coming up right now. I'm like, I wrote the books on this. Read the damn books. That's what I got to tell you. Read the damn books. Get the books and read the stories, but read them from, really truly seeing it from your perspective, from in your world. And that's why those books are really written, is because as I release them, I really wanted to share that we are not alone, and that we're not the only person going through something, and we're not the only person who's struggling. You're not the only person who's suffering, not the only person who's bearing witness to something. But I always say there's all of these little lies that we tell ourselves that's coded in things on why we can't do things differently. Prime example. I'm going to give you a prime example. So just say, for example, people will say to me, I would love to come to one of your courses, but I can't afford it. I'm like, can you not afford it? Or is it not in your priorities of importance to do self-care work? And they're like, and it's true. So here's the truth. So is it that when you look at where every dollar goes, is every dollar that you are spending going towards the enrichment of living your best life? Or is it going towards the isms and the addictions and the patterns of where we just let money slip through? And trust me, I had these in my life too. So, for example, I'll say, well, do you smoke cigarettes? And they're like, yes. Do you drink? Yes. Do you go buy coffee every day? Yes. Do you go to Starbucks? Do you go to Tim Hortons? Do you go to McDonald's? Yes, yes, yes. We do all of these things. We enjoy these things. And I'm like, so is it that you really enjoy them? Or does it keep feeding the isms of the hungry ghost that we have? So it is priorities, right? It is what we prioritize and what becomes most important to us and how we make that work. And then of course there is always the fact that maybe there isn't quite enough money to do some of those things. But when we start to be honest with ourselves, what we do is we start to clean up the areas of our lives so that we can start having and doing the things that actually really truly matter to our soul's growth, to our light growing, and not to us continually feeding the shadow, existing in the shadow, and believing that to be exactly who you are, what you are, and why you keep failing the self is not because you keep failing the self, it's because you keep prioritizing the shadow versus the light. And that's how we end up back and back again. I can't afford not to attend the teachings and self reflection, right? And so, what am I investing into? Where's that investment going? So, if we're investing into the half hearted truths we tell ourselves, it's that radical, somebody's like putting off like firecrackers or something outside, but it's like that. It's the things that kind of snap us into a new reality. And it's a shift in the mindset. If I want to get here, if I want to move my life up here, I have to do the groundwork, which means I got to be honest with myself, which means I got to clear up the things that really truly stand my way. It means that I have to put my why, get my why to be big enough, and then create all the small whys. And so that I don't beat myself up and I'm not hard on myself, but I recognize. And so once you become aware of the things that we tell ourselves and why we are not worthy, why we're not important, then we can map, trace, and track where that sense of lack of worth and lack of value comes from. And then we can see how it influences our whole lives. And when you can see how it influences your whole life, you can really see how out of balance we become because we keep supplying and giving over here to what we feel like is satisfying us, but it's never satisfying. It's what keeps us being able to stay in circles with people. It keeps us being able to hang on to people. It keeps us being able to tell ourselves the story that aligns to the shadow aspect of ourselves. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but when we want to really truly make a choice, when we're choosing, this is my choice. I'm choosing to find my mission statement I wrote down was I'm finding joy and happiness no matter the cost. And that cost came at really recognizing that my joy and my happiness wasn't in having and building up and stockpiling more material things that didn't have actual cash in my pocket to pay for, right? There was no actual cash. Then I had to chase the things to make sure that you could sustain this life, but this life was not fulfilling anything. And when I let all of this life go, and I fell into the humility of all of that, and I was left standing, I realized what was most important to me and what mattered the most to me. And what was most important to me was so much more simpler and so much less complicated when I could let the other things go. And I don't know who needs to hear that today, but I know somebody needs to hear that because we hold on, and that's why we cause ourselves That's why we fall into the misery trap, right? Is we get into that misery trap because we believe all of this to hold the weight of truth. And that's how we get spellbound. That's hypnotic. It hypnotizes us to believe that we are not worthy, or that this is the only way we can travel. This is the only way life is. I can't quit this. I can't change this. I can't do this. When I went to hairdressing school, the word that we were never, ever, ever allowed to use was I can't. And I know this is channeling through from somewhere today, so I've got to let it finish before I can stop. And it was like, and so we were never allowed to say I can't. It was I will give it my best effort. I will try. I will do what I can. But there's a self inside of us that we are afraid being, because what if your best effort that you believe is the limiting belief of your best effort? But what if beyond that limiting belief, what if you break through that paradigm of the limiting belief, that there's actually a you that can do it? It's like a kid who will not ride their bike. They see an older kid on a bike. They see a kid riding with no training wheels. They see a kid riding fast. I can't do this. I can't do this. And then they give them a bike and they sit them on it with training wheels. And they're like, you can do this. No, I can't. No, I can't. And they cry and they cry and they cry. But they start to move. They push. Somebody's pushing that bike. And then as they're pushing that bike, you're moving. And then all of a sudden their feet, the paddle touches their feet and it goes up and down. Then they start to move with the paddles. Then they start to move the paddles and then they realize they're moving. And then they're like, let me go. I want to do this by myself. I can do this, because excitement. So what we're seeking is joy. And when we can spark that sense of enthusiasm and joy and a thrill to be ourselves, and we can take the training wheels off, and we don't, it's not about going 360. It's about traveling through the circle. And so then that kid, finally they want their training wheels off, but they're petrified, but they're limited because they only believe they can ride with those training wheels on. But once one comes off, or once both training wheels, and then they figure out they can ride, well, now they have broke through again. Now they broke through another belief. Now they can ride a bike. Now they can ride a bike, and then they want a bigger bike, and then they want a bigger bike, and then they want to ride. And then they hit teenagers, and then none of their friends ride. So then they stop riding their bike because none of their friends ride bike, and it's not cool to ride a bike. So then they stop riding a bike because none of their friends ride a bike. So now we found a new limiting belief, and now we've lost faith in ourselves again, and we stopped doing the things that we loved, the things that made us feel good about ourselves and healthy, because somebody else is not doing it. So then we lose it again. So we're in, out, in, out, in, out, until we finally break through. We finally break through. And we start to just say no to a lot of things that we know is feeding the shadow. So that kid that then just, well, I got to fit in, I got to belong, I don't really like to ride bike. No, it's not that you don't like to ride bike. Is you stop doing the things that you loved because somebody else didn't like it, because it doesn't fit into somebody else's world and somebody else's life. And so this is, if you look at all of the stories in your life and look at how all of those stories all started with a limiting belief, and then out of the limiting belief and back in. It's like we're like the snail in the shell. We're in and out, in and out, in and out, because we're being motivated by fear. So when we're motivated by faith, things begin to change. And that's exactly where we are, and that's exactly what we have coming up in the midst of the lunar in the eclipse season. But it doesn't mean everybody breaks out and breaks through. It means some will go, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I gotta go find something. I gotta go bury this again. I gotta go numb this again. I gotta go hide this again. I gotta go back. I gotta go back. But once we can break out, and if this closes, there's no going back. It's like the past. That past is actually gone. There is no past. There's no such thing as a past. All you have is the memories of the past. And because you keep bringing them in as if it is real in your life, well, it does have weight in your life, and then it becomes real. It manifests. So it will not have the same face as the past. It will not have the same energy. It gets heavier. It gets heavier. It gets ickier. It weighs us down more. It's because we let it in. So that's what I got for you. That's what I got for you. That's everything that I have for you today. Um, I was noticing all the love and all the things in that moment from the knees to tree. Yes, right. Being out at the beach, being there, enjoying it. Yes, exactly, Jesse. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not doing any actually readings today. I'm not channeling into that. I just give a big channeled message. So that message was huge. That was a huge message. If you only got pieces and parts of it, I think you should go back and listen to it again. I would go back and listen again and really see what was in that message, because that was just channeled through from the angels. That was being given to us today from the angels for us to be able to really let it breathe through us as we go through these, as we're in the beginning of September, as we're in here, and we don't, so that we're not bullying ourselves. We're not being a bully, a meanie. We're not victimizing ourselves. We're not rehashing. We're moving forward. So we're not getting stuck in that stuck wheel, moving the wheel forward in life. And some things are out of our control. So we can't, how can we can't change the world, but we can change how we show up in the world. Yeah. So that's all I got. Now I'm going to go. Now I'm going to go to my appointment. Thank you all for being here and listening, and feel free to share this message out. And yeah, I was actually going to talk about my events, is what I came in to do, and I never spoke about the events. But I'm in Newfoundland. I'm in Lacombe. I have a class, a workshop for intuition development for beginners, newbies, intermediate, advanced, doesn't matter what you are. That class is on Saturday, September the 21st here in Lacombe. It is an afternoon class. It's like from 1 to 5. And that's on Eventbrite and on the website. You can also go directly to Eventbrite or the website, and you can see all of the events on the website. Lisa has each and every one of the communities that I'm in, the cities I'm in Newfoundland. Everything is listed there. There is a couple, there will be another one to be added on as well, but I don't have that one locked in. And that's in October. There is early bird pricing. And then on the 20th, I'm in Grand Falls. On the 19th and 20th, I'm in Grand Falls, Newfoundland. And on the Sunday, there is an empowerment transformation workshop that I'm doing on the Sunday. And it was released the same time as all of the mediumship event that I'm doing in Newfoundland. But the empowerment one is now on for 2 for 1. So you can purchase the 2 for 1 tickets to see me in Grand Falls for a hold from 11 till, I think it's from 11 to 5, 11 to 4, 11 to 4. And it's a 2 for 1 ticket. So you can buy one for you and one for your friend. And that's going to be on till, I think, September the 20th. I just woke up one morning, had that message that event needs to be a 2 for 1. So there was a couple people who had already purchased their tickets, who I still haven't emailed, but I have a note put in your file that there is an extra ticket for each of those two. I think it's 2 or 3 people who had purchased before. So I'm going to get those out to you as well. And yeah, and then there's an online class that begins on September the 18th, which is the way of the mystics, the mystic way, or the way of the mystic. And it is in the soul revival of the divine feminine workshops. It is a master class. It's online. It's in our more than existing Academy of Higher Consciousness. And it starts on the 18th. It's 4 weeks in the evenings, 6:30 to 8 Mountain Standard Time. And so you can join in from everywhere. It's always recorded. And those are some deep, deep, serious master classes, which are so fun to attend. So if you would like to join me online for that on the 18th of September, right when we're going into that lunar eclipse, right when we have the full moon coming, please just go to the website and you can get yourself registered for that as well. So have a great day. Thank you for being with me. And if you want to work on your stories, read the books. I send you so much love. Bye-bye.